Beneath the hazy moonlight of the Middle Ages, where darkness seemed to cover every corner of life, there was a little-known world, a world of secrets and desires to escape reality. It was not the story of gallant knights, magnificent castles, or heroic crusades, but a darker and deeper tale, the life of weary, exhausted people in poverty, sickness, and despair, where they sought mysterious ways to forget their suffering, no matter the cost. Amid moss-covered villages, crooked, thatched roofs, and muddy dirt roads, life in the Middle Ages was harsher than anything modern imagination can grasp. Plague, famine, and death were unwelcome but constant companions. Medicine at the time was crude, often based on superstitions and oral traditions, unable to cure serious illnesses or ease persistent pain. Yet in that condition, people could not stop yearning for something different. A door opening to another world where suffering no longer existed, where one could float among misty clouds or immerse in strange dreams, detached from harsh reality. And that was when herbs, strange mushrooms, and natural substances with mysterious powers entered daily life, hunted and used not only as medicine but also as gateways to other worlds. In dim taverns, by flickering oil lamps, stories were passed about mushrooms growing deep in the forest, bringing a strange dreamlike state. The healers, both doctors and sorcerers, held ancient secrets, knowing how to brew complex mixtures from rare herbs to help people forget physical and spiritual pain. But no one knew for sure if what they ingested was truly safe. Horror stories about users becoming obsessed, insane, or even turning into wandering ghosts in the village still whispered like the wind howling through wooden cracks. People were both fearful and fascinated by that invisible power. One freezing winter night, under a star-filled sky but covered by thick fog, a group of villagers gathered around a blazing fireplace. Among them was Anna, a young girl full of curiosity and weary from a suffocating life, who decided to try a mushroom given to her by a mysterious old healer woman. The old woman said it would guide her into another world, where she could find answers to unexplained things, where she could escape the darkness of life. Anna bit a small piece, feeling a burning warmth spread through her body, then colors began to dance before her eyes. She felt as if floating among clouds, hearing mysterious sounds echoing from far away. But everything quickly turned chaotic. Dark shadows appeared. Strange whispers echoed in her mind, making her extremely confused and terrified. Anna's story was not just her own, but a testament to the fragility and danger of seeking escape through intoxicating substances in the Middle Ages. It was a journey between hope and obsession, between life and death, where the boundary between reality and dream became as fragile as mist. In medieval society, those who dared to try and take risks with these substances were often viewed with suspicion, even accused of witchcraft or heresy. Yet some, despite all risks, sought them as a way to find light in the darkness, as a ticket to escape a life full of adversity. The story of intoxicating substances in the Middle Ages was not only about rare herbs or mushrooms, but a vivid proof of the yearning for freedom, the desire to fly away from the chains of a painful and confined life. It contained mysteries yet to be solved, simmering dramas in every breath of the dark era. And even today, when modern science has illuminated many secrets of those natural substances, people still cannot deny the magical and challenging allure they once had and still hold. A fantastic adventure, yet full of dangers, along the fragile boundary between consciousness and unconsciousness, between life and death. Do you dare to step into their world? Step into the Middle Ages, where people once sought mysterious doors to forget reality, to dream, to live differently, if only for a moment. Or will you remain forever an outsider, curious but cautious? Under the gray sky and muddy roads of the Middle Ages, the world was not only covered by pain and disease, but also by dark mysteries, strange substances that people called intoxicants. They were like keys opening doors to other dimensions, where people could find comfort, liberation, or even power beyond imagination. But have you ever wondered what was behind those elixirs? Who discovered them, and how were they used? This story will lead you to explore deeper depth through the thick fog of the Middle Ages, where intoxicants were not just drinks or herbs, but things connected to life, death, belief, and power. From the earliest days of the Middle Ages, wine became a popular drink not only for its sweetness, but also for the magical, state-changing ability it brought. In taverns, sounds of laughter and singing rose amid the strong scent of yeast, pulling people away from the sufferings of everyday life. Wine was a bridge between humans and their freest emotions, making them forget the dark days, forget the cold of winter or persistent hunger. But wine was not everything. Besides that, medieval people believed in the power of herbs and wild plants growing in dense forests, things we today call anesthetics, sedatives, or even black magic. One of them was Henbane, a toxic plant, but one that could immerse people in mystical hallucinations. It was often used in religious rituals, with the belief that this plant could help them communicate with the divine world, meet saints, or the spirits of the dead. There was also the poisonous Amanita muscaria mushroom, with its characteristic red cap dotted with white, famous in folklore. Those who dared to eat this mushroom would experience strange intoxication, from vivid dreams to distortions of space and time in perception. The mushroom was used in shamanic rituals to expand consciousness and enter supernatural worlds, but it was equally dangerous. An overdose could lead to severe poisoning or even death. Of course, not everyone dared to try such dangerous things, but in castles, in the warm rooms of the nobility, stronger alcohol and delicately prepared herbal drinks created experiences that were both pleasurable and safer. They used alcohol not only for fun, but also as a kind of medicine for the soul, soothing stress during lavish parties and bright festivals. Sometimes alcohol was also a tool of power, when an invitation to drink could be a sign of friendship or a subtle trap. But the most astonishing thing was the diversity in the use of those intoxicants. In remote villages, hunters and shamans used them to heal, relieve pain, drive away evil spirits, or to see the future. A wealthy person might seek out strange herbs hoping to escape joint pain or psychological obsessions, while a priest would use plants and mushrooms as sacred means to lead the community in important rituals. There were also mystical moments when intoxicants were used as a spiritual window, where the limits of consciousness blurred. People believed that in this altered state, they could communicate with gods, decode cosmic secrets, or see things that the ordinary eye could not. This was an important part of spiritual life in the Middle Ages, a world not only imprisoned by the body, but also filled with intense metaphysical longings. However, not all stories ended in pleasure and peace. There were countless tragedies and mysteries surrounding the use of these substances. Many were caught in the whirlpool of addiction, bizarre hallucinations that drove them mad, or even led to uncontrollable brutal acts. On some bright moonlit nights, lost people wandered deep in the forest, with staring eyes and strange words, causing villagers both fear and sympathy. And more than once, medieval power exploited intoxicating substances to control, manipulate the masses, or punish enemies. A glass of wine laced with poison, a special herb at a feast could bring a silent death or cause the victim to fall into a permanent unconscious state. Anna, the girl who once tried the mysterious mushroom in the previous story, is living proof of the fragile boundary between curiosity and disaster. After that strange experience, she began to be haunted by vague images, sounds not of this world, making her lost between the line of reality and dreams. The villagers started calling her the deep forest ghost, and her life became lonely, filled with whispers of fear and relentless curiosity. But no matter what, intoxicating substances in the Middle Ages were an inseparable part of life and culture of the era. They were both medicine and curse, both a mystical gateway to other worlds and a deadly trap. A story full of unanswered questions, drama, and mystery, a world that only the brave or reckless dare to enter. Would you choose to stand and watch, or step into that world? Step into the vague dreams and hazy passions, where the boundary between reality and illusion, between life and death, is as thin as a veil of mist. The darkness of the Middle Ages not only covered mossy villages, magnificent castles, but also shrouded the minds and perceptions of people about altered states of consciousness, states we now simply call drunk or high. But in that era, these states carried profound, complex, and mysterious meanings, far different from the modern societal view. First, imagine a cold evening when candlelight flickers in damp rooms, and outside, the wind whistles through bare branches. There, a group gathers around a fire, their eyes sparkling with something more than just drunkenness or ordinary hallucination. They're experiencing a spiritual journey, a flight to the heights of the soul where the line between reality and the supernatural blurs. And in those moments, they are not just drunkards, but messengers of invisible forces, chosen ones to communicate with deities or other worlds. Unlike modern society, where drunk is simply understood as a state of loss of control, joy, or stimulation caused by alcohol and drugs, medieval people viewed altered consciousness through a much more complex spiritual and cultural lens. Reaching the peak was not just a temporary thrill, but a trance state, sacred, where humans believed they could transcend mundane limits to touch truth and come closer to the divine. In many remote rural areas, priests, shamans, or sorcerers were regarded as gatekeepers to spiritual worlds. They used special herbs, mushrooms, to help themselves and their communities experience altered states of consciousness. In that state, they believed they could heal illnesses, foresee the future, or communicate with spirits. This created a value system where the state of being drunk was not merely hallucination or loss of consciousness, but a spiritual awakening and sacred connection. However, not everyone easily accepts this state. In feudal society, caution and fear of the unexplained transformed the peak state into a sharp weapon in the hands of religious and political forces. People were wary and suspicious of those who frequently appeared in altered states of consciousness, especially when they exhibited behaviors or speech beyond social norms. Many were accused of witchcraft or dark deeds, and their fate often ended in the flames of suspicion and injustice. Spirituality and society intertwined to create a complex network where altered states of consciousness were both revered and suppressed. This very contradiction added mystery and drama to the stories of those who dared to enter the intoxicated world of the Middle Ages. In contrast, in modern society, being high or intoxicated is often viewed through the lenses of medicine, psychology, or simply as an experience of entertainment or escape. People tend to clearly distinguish between sober and uncontrolled states, between legal and illegal stimulants, and usually set clear legal standards. Understanding of the brain and body chemistry has helped today's society position intoxication as a biological phenomenon, reducing mystery but also losing some of the spiritual depth once felt by the medieval people. The story of Anna, a girl from a small village who once experienced strange mushroom intoxication, is a vivid example of this difference. She once saw that experience as a spiritual opening, a meeting with supernatural forces. But harsh reality dragged her back to a cruel present, where hallucinations were not accepted but condemned and stigmatized by society. Loneliness and psychological imbalance gradually made her lost between two worlds, between the mystery of the past and the harshness of the present. And perhaps it was the difference in perception of altered states of consciousness that determined the fate of many throughout history. When understood as a sacred experience, people respected and cherished it, but when misunderstood or feared, it became the source of witch hunts and endless tragedies. Have you ever wondered whether within us exists a part of that medieval world, where states of intoxication were not just loss of control, but a journey of self-discovery, a journey into the dark realms of the soul? Are we misperceiving or forgetting deeper aspects of altered consciousness? Henbane, the mystery of the medieval death herb, healing potion, or invisible death sentence? In the thick darkness of the Middle Ages, when medical knowledge was but scattered fragments between legend and healer's experience, there was a famous herb, considered both a miracle cure and a silent death, lurking: Henbane. The plant, with gray-green leaves and pale yellow-white flowers like mist, has left its mark on many mysterious and tragic human stories of that time. And the story of Henbane, once called the Child of Darkness, still arouses curiosity and chills when thought of. Henbane, also called the sleeping herb, was one of the closely guarded secrets in the crude laboratories of medieval healers. Carefully harvested from desolate forests, this plant quickly became an effective weapon in folk medicine. It could relieve severe pain, induce deep anesthesia, and was used to treat various illnesses from convulsions, joint pain, to mysterious neurological problems. Not only that, Henbane also played an important role in spiritual rituals, where gatekeepers used it as a key to open doors to other worlds, helping them enter trance states, communicate with spirits, or foresee the future. Stories of shamans and priests drinking Henbane tea before ceremonies are not just legends, but proof of the plant's magical power. But behind those useful effects, Henbane hid an unpredictable danger. Just a slight carelessness, an overdose, or improper preparation, and a person would no longer be themselves. Terrifying hallucinations began to invade the mind, causing the patient to get lost in a maze of distorted images and frightening sounds. The heart raced as if about to burst, the body burned like fire, and in many cases, Henbane took the lives of those who dared to try it. There are oral stories about farmers who mistakenly ate Henbane leaves, confusing them with edible plants. They became insane, screaming in the fields, their eyes wide open seeing demons hiding in the shadows, and finally collapsed in violent convulsions, never waking up. In a small village in a remote countryside, there was a healer named Benedict, famous for his ability to cure diseases that seemed incurable. He knew well the power of Henbane, but also deeply understood its dangers. One night, when a child had a high fever leading to delirium, the desperate family sought him out. Benedict decided to use Henbane to induce anesthesia and relieve pain for the child, knowing that a mistake could threaten the child's life. The struggle between life and death took place in the darkness of the small house. The medicine was carefully prepared, drop by drop, placed on the child's lips. Everyone held their breath, waiting, watching for signs of a miracle or disaster. The moments stretched endlessly, and then the child slowly recovered, escaping the tormenting fever. This success made Benedict praised as a savior, but he always lived with the fear that a small mistake could turn him into an accidental murderer. The story of Henbane is not only a lesson about the danger of mysterious natural things, but also a story about human risk in the journey to seek healing and escape pain. It raises a haunting question. Is it possible to separate medicine from poison? Do humans dare to face the latent power in things that seem harmless? Today, when science has revealed many mysteries about Henbane, people understand better the dosage and usage, but the story of terrifying nights, delirium, and an unexplained death still echoes in history. Henbane, an anesthetic plant that is both savior and deathbringer, still keeps its mysterious allure and horror. Do you dare to step into the world of Henbane? A world where each drop of medicine can be life or death, where strange dreams and nightmares truly exist side by side? Or will you forever remain an outsider, amazed and curious about the dark power of this mysterious plant? Mandrake, the chilling secret of the screaming plant in the darkness of the Middle Ages. If there is a plant that makes people both amazed and terrified more than Henbane, it is Mandrake. A plant wrapped in mysterious legends and terrifying magical stories in the medieval mindset. Mandrake is not just an ordinary herb, but the embodiment of mystical things containing supernatural power and dark secrets that not everyone dares to explore. It is no coincidence that Mandrake is considered a bewitched plant in folk tales. Its root has a strange shape, resembling a small human with full limbs and head, making people think of a mysterious living creature hidden deep underground. This shape sparked both curiosity and fear in many minds. But the most horrifying thing is not only the shape, but also the terrifying scream said to be emitted when the mandrake root is pulled from the ground. A scream enough to make anyone who hears it die instantly or go mad immediately. The image of Mandrake as a half-human, half-plant creature, along with the deadly scream, has become the center of countless thrilling legends spreading throughout villages and towns in the Middle Ages. People believed that to pull out the Mandrake without dying, one had to perform complex rituals with the help of a dog, usually a trained dog that would pull the root out of the ground while the person stood far away to avoid the scream. Stories about Mandrake are also tinged with magical colors. People say Mandrake is a miraculous medicine capable of healing, bringing luck, or even the key to opening doors to other worlds. Sorcerers and witches in the Middle Ages regarded Mandrake as a priceless treasure in their collection, using it in enchantment rituals and spells, praying for power and protection against dark forces. However, the mystery does not stop there. Mandrake is also linked to dark stories about curses and disasters. It is said that if one hears the scream of the Mandrake, the listener will be haunted for life or encounter unavoidable misfortunes. There are rumors that Mandrake can suck souls, turning foolish people who come into contact with it into ghosts wandering lost among the living. In many ancient forests, amidst thick fog, shamans and priests once whispered to each other complex methods to harness the power of Mandrake, from making painkillers to creating mysterious talismans. Prayer rituals under the new moon, chants echoing in the silent space, made Mandrake not only a medicinal plant, but also a symbol of the intersection between the real world and the mystical world. The story of Anna, a girl who once experienced terrifying hallucinations with henbane mushrooms, also took an unexpected turn when she heard about Mandrake. Curiosity along with rumors urged her to explore and once again step into the dark realm full of temptation and danger of magical herbs. Could she escape the shadow of henbane and find light in the mystical world of Mandrake, or would she be drawn deep into new whirlpools of enchantment and peril? Mandrake is a story never old, where curiosity, fear, and belief intertwine to create a mystical world full of unanswered mysteries. It is not just a plant, but a symbol of the fragile boundary between survival and death, between knowledge and superstition, between truth and legend. In the dark world of the Middle Ages, Mandrake was not just a plant. It was a living mystery, a creature full of magic and death. People could not simply pull Mandrake out like ordinary herbs. Legend has it that whenever the Mandrake root is torn from the ground, a pitiful scream resounds, powerful enough to shake the whole forest, spreading madness and death to those who hear it. Therefore, the technique of harvesting Mandrake was kept secret as the ultimate mystery, mixing fear and admiration. Imagine a dim moonlit night, a group of shamans or Mandrake hunters gathered deep in the forest. They do not come to pick casually, but prepare a solemn and strange ritual. Before proceeding, they often tie a loyal dog to the root with a sturdy leather leash. The harvester stands at a distance, holding the leash, waiting for the exact moment. When the dog pulls the root up from the ground, the dreadful scream of the Mandrake echoes through the space, a sound believed to be able to paralyze the mind of anyone who hears it. But the dog, in legends, is the only creature brave enough to face that scream. The dog writhes, may collapse, but the Mandrake root is safely pulled out. Those witnessing this ritual are both fearful and respectful. They believe that only wisdom and careful preparation can help them avoid the deadly curse of the Mandrake and bring home the treasure with magical power. Once the Mandrake has been harvested, the work does not stop. The root is carefully processed to make medicine or charms. But it is the power hidden inside the Mandrake that makes people both terrified and curious. Mandrake causes very special hallucinatory effects, very different from the usual intoxication we know. Medieval users described the feeling as being drawn into another world, where all limits of time and space blur, where vivid images and bright colors appear like in the strangest dreams. Invisible whispers echo in the mind, making them sense the presence of spirits, supernatural forces listening and communicating. But the hallucinations from Mandrake are not only magical and gentle moments. They can quickly turn into terrible nightmares when shadows and grotesque shapes flood the mind, causing panic, loss of control, or even dangerous delirium. One wrong step in using Mandrake can take a person from enchantment to the depths of madness. Anna, the girl once haunted by hallucinations with henbane mushrooms, decided to try exploring Mandrake, the plant rumored to guide her out of the previous terrifying dreams. But when she first touched the Mandrake root, the experience was not as gentle as she thought. She felt waves shaking inside her head, as if her soul was being pulled through cracks in time and space. Images of mysterious creatures, distorted faces, and incessant echoes seemed to haunt her for many days after. Curiosity mixed with fear made her lose her way between the boundary of reality and illusion, between life and death. In the chaotic and perilous world of the Middle Ages, where every passing day was a struggle for survival, there was a plant known as the ghost of the garden, Belelladana, also called deadly nightshade. This plant was not simply a medicine, but a symbol of both healing power and lurking danger, where the dosage and method of use determined the life or death of the user. Belelladana bore shiny black berries, gleaming like black gems in the dim light of the ancient forest. From its leaves to every drop of its sap, it contained a formidable power not to be underestimated. Medieval healers and herbalists quickly discovered that belladonna could soothe severe pain, relax tense muscles, and induce deep anesthesia, a precious gift in a time when medicine was rudimentary and fraught with uncertainty. But precisely because of its great power, belladonna carried a mysterious curse. An exact dose could save a life, but even a slight mistake could send the patient to the brink of death or terrifying delirium, with prolonged dark hallucinations. Horrifying tales circulated about those who used belladonna, becoming ghosts, wandering the woods, or losing their memories forever, making the plant a symbol both frightening and fascinating. It was believed that belladonna was not only a healing herb, but also a powerful tool in the hands of the knowledgeable, from herbalists to sorcerers and witches. They used belladonna to expand the limits of perception, create altered states of consciousness, and even communicate with supernatural forces. In prayers and charms rituals, belladonna often played an indispensable role, like a bridge between the visible and invisible worlds. In a village overshadowed by obsession and rumors about belladonna, there was a woman named Isolde, a healer trusted by the people for her ability to cure seemingly incurable diseases. Isolde understood well both the power and danger of belladonna. Once, when a villager suffered from severe stomach pain that would not subside, she decided to use belladonna to help him escape the pain, despite the worry and suspicion of those around her. The moment belladonna was prepared into medicine and administered to the patient was one of extreme tension. The pain gradually eased, and the patient fell into a deep sleep as if enchanted. But Isolde knew she had to watch every minute and every second, for even the smallest error would turn belladonna into a death sentence for the patient. In the nights that followed, Isolde sat by the bedside, observing every breath and heartbeat, fearful of the power of that ghostly plant. But miraculously, the patient recovered gradually, regained health, and continued life. This success brought Isolde praise, yet she still held deep respect and fear for belladonna, a plant that was both savior and silent killer. Through Isolde's story, we better understand how the medieval people both admired and feared belladonna, a medicine that could save lives but also destroy if not used carefully. Belladonna is evidence of the risks in medicine during the Dark Ages, where life and death were separated by a single dose. The Middle Ages, an era of dense darkness, not only covering every corner of the village, but also shrouding the imagination and deep fears in human souls. Among countless mysterious tales, there was a plant that inspired both terror and fascination, belladonna, also known as witch's herb. Not only a medicine, belladonna was connected with magical legends, superstitious rituals, and the mysterious witch image everyone feared. It was said that belladonna was born from darkness, a gift or a curse from supernatural forces. Its shiny black berries were considered devil's eyes, containing magical power capable of changing fate, healing diseases, or bringing disaster to the foolish. In magical rituals, belladonna was often used to brew potions, charms, or mixtures helping witches fly into the sky on moonlit nights. Stories of witches and belladonna were passed down through generations. It was believed witches used belladonna to create flying ointments, helping them escape the earthly realm to mysterious places to meet spirits and perform ultimate magic. This connection between belladonna and the witch world turned the plant into a symbol of dark power, of curses, and also liberation. In small villages, when night falls, eerie stories about belladonna are told by the fireside. It is said that if someone finds a belladonna berry fallen on the road, it is a sign of misfortune or the presence of a nearby witch. Many avoid this plant because they believe it carries a curse that haunts anyone who touches it or turns them into a wandering ghost. A famous legend tells of a woman named Elsbeth, accused of witchcraft because her garden was full of belladonna. The villagers believed she used the plant to cast dark spells that caused crop failures and the spread of disease. She was arrested, tortured, and sentenced to death, although in reality she may have been a lonely woman with herbal knowledge that society could not understand. The image of belladonna in folklore is not simply a plant, but a symbol of the intersection between life and death, between power and destruction. It serves as a reminder of human fears of the unknown, of boundaries broken by the forces of nature and magic. Anna, a girl once haunted by Henbane and Mandre, now stands at the gateway to the world of Belladonna, a place where enchantment mixes with curses, where healing power and dark magic intertwine. She realizes that the journey to explore these mysterious plants is not only a physical adventure, but also an inner battle with fear, curiosity, and the desire for understanding. Amid the darkness and allure of the Middle Ages, Belladonna, the plant known as the Black Ghost, stands as a chilling yet fascinating enigma. Its terrifying toxicity is enough to sow death, yet it also holds miraculous healing powers. The story of Belladonna is the story of the fragile balance between life and death, between salvation and destruction. Belladonna contains powerful compounds such as atropine, scopolamine, and hyoscyamine, substances discovered by medieval healers to relieve pain, relax muscles, and induce anesthesia. But these same substances, if overdosed or used improperly, can cause horrifying poisoning, a racing heart as if it would burst, delirium, memory loss, convulsions, and finally, silent death. Many tragic incidents from misuse have been witnessed, making it a double-edged sword that must not be underestimated. However, amidst this harshness, the medieval people learned to harness Belladonna's medical benefits through careful preparation. Wise physicians, both healers and keepers of nature's secrets, crafted delicate doses just enough to ease pain without endangering life. The story of Isolde, the village healer, still echoes as a vivid testament to that balance. She was not merely a pharmacist, but a protector of life against fragile death. Every time she used Belladonna, Isolde seemed to walk a razor's edge between hope and danger. She understood that a drop too much or too little could mean the difference between a miracle and a disaster. Caution in using Belladonna extended into the broader social life. People passed down strict warnings from identifying Belladonna to avoiding it when unnecessary. Anyone daring to challenge this black ghost without knowledge and preparation risked death. Stories of those poisoned by Belladonna, wandering like lost souls or dying mysteriously, caused both fear and respect. Yet it was precisely Belladonna's mystery and latent power that made it an indispensable part of medieval medicine and mysticism. People gradually learned to treat this plant with respect, clearly understanding that every dose was a delicate negotiation between life and death. Do you dare to step into that fragile world? A world where every drop of Belladonna can save or destroy, where knowledge and caution decide human fate. Or will you remain an outsider, only daring to watch from afar the drama and mystery of this bewitching plant? Amid the chilling and colorful legends of the Middle Ages, the image of witches riding broomsticks through the dark night has been deeply imprinted in the minds of generations. A symbol both bizarre and mystical, full of haunting fascination and curiosity. But few know that behind this legendary image lie scientific secrets hidden in the magical herbs and ointments used by witches of that time, substances that created terrifying hallucinatory experiences so intense they made them truly fly, at least in their minds. Witches, those labeled by medieval society as heretics possessing dark magic, did not rely solely on fabricated stories, but also used secret herbal mixtures containing powerful alkaloids, such as atropine, scopolamine, and hyoscyamine found in Belladonna, Henbane, and Mandre. These compounds have the ability to relax muscles, anesthetize, stimulate the nervous system, and especially to create strange hallucinations that make users feel as if they are soaring, leaving their bodies. In secret rituals, witches applied ointments, mixed from herbs containing mystical poisons, onto their skin, particularly on sensitive areas such as wrists, groin, or soles of the feet. These chemical compounds quickly absorb through the skin, affecting the central nervous system, creating sensations of flying, sometimes fake paralysis, making them believe they were truly riding broomsticks soaring through the night sky. This experience helped create the image of witches flying on broomsticks, a symbol both legendary and scientifically metaphorical. Those who saw witches in this state believed they truly possessed supernatural powers, could fly like birds, communicate with demons, and perform terrifying magic. Meanwhile, the witches themselves fully believed in the power of these hallucinations, seeing them as a divine connection between themselves and dark forces. However, these flights were not always gentle and safe. Many witches were poisoned, fell into delirium, or lost control of their behavior. Some were caught and executed simply because of screams and strange actions stemming from these terrifying hallucinations. Therefore, the image of witches flying on broomsticks is not just a fairy tale, but a vivid proof of the strange intersection between natural chemistry, spirituality, and medieval folk culture. It makes people both amazed and shudder at the complexity of the human mind and the power of nature. In the dark gloom of the Middle Ages, when stories of witches, magic, and supernatural forces spread everywhere, there was a secret few dared to mention: that of mysterious ointments made from magical herbs like belladonna, henbane, and mandrake. These ointments were not only healing tools, but also the source of fascinating and terrifying hallucinatory experiences, making users feel as if they were flying in midair, separated from the real world. The ointments, also called witches' salves, were prepared by extracting compounds from belladonna, henbane, and mandrake, plants known for their strong toxicity and mysterious magical power. Belladonna, with its shiny black berries containing atropine and scopolamine, henbane carrying the toxic hyoscyamine, and mandrake with its bizarre root structure and mystical alkaloids, combined to create a powerful mixture capable of profoundly affecting the nervous system. These ointments were applied on the skin, especially on delicate areas like wrists, groin, or soles, places where compounds easily absorb through the skin directly into the bloodstream, quickly affecting the brain. The chemistry of belladonna, henbane, and mandrake disrupted neural signals, especially at acetylcholine receptors, causing partial loss of control over motor and cognitive functions. This created a strange sensation of floating. Users felt as if drifting in the air, separated from their bodies, entering mystical spiritual realms. Yet flying sensations were not the only experience users had. The ointments also triggered powerful hallucinations: distorted images, vivid colors, eerie echoes, invisible whispers, even sensations of touching mysterious creatures or communicating with supernatural forces. This was the origin of legendary stories about witches flying on broomsticks, ghostly encounters, and dark magic passed down through many generations. But that magic was only the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the surface were terrible poisonings, uncontrollable delirium, convulsions, and even death. Many of the witches and sorcerers in the Middle Ages paid with their lives after overdosing or incorrectly preparing ointments. This danger made the recipes for these ointments a closely guarded secret, passed only to trusted individuals. The story of Elsbeth, a woman accused of witchcraft because of her belladonna garden, partially reveals the secrets of hallucinogenic ointments. Elsbeth once used this ointment to heal villagers' wounds, but she also experienced strange dreams and uncontrollable intoxication, causing suspicion and fear. Once, when the ointment caused her to appear in a floating state, the crowd saw her seemingly hovering in midair, leading to her being convicted as a witch and suffering a tragic fate. Anna, a girl who experimented with henbane and mandrake, was not spared from the deadly allure of the ointment. She tried applying this mysterious ointment to her skin on a full moon night, hoping to escape the torment of previous hallucinations. But this time, the experience was not as expected. The intoxication came violently, pulling her into vivid, haunting dreams, grotesque shadows, and strange echoes from another world, making her almost lose control and nearly fall into death. Through these stories, it is clear that hallucinogenic ointments are a double-edged sword, both a tool to open doors to mystical spiritual dimensions and a threat to life. They symbolize the intersection of rudimentary science, spirituality, and the colorful folk culture of the Middle Ages, inspiring both awe and shivers at the power of nature and human daring. When the thick night falls over medieval villages where flickering lamps barely chase away the darkness, another mysterious world begins to awaken. It is the world of spiritual rituals, witch gatherings, and folk traditions woven between superstition and magic. In that world, hallucinogenic ointments extracted from belladonna, henbane, and mandrake were not only tools for healing or pain relief, but became magical gates to supernatural dimensions, where humans felt the presence of spirits, gods, and invisible forces. Magic ointments were not used carelessly, but were an essential part of sacred rituals. Witches, sorcerers, and keepers of folk traditions used them to prepare for wondrous spiritual journeys, flights beyond physical limits. When applying the thick black mixtures on the skin, especially on sensitive areas such as wrists, groin, or soles of the feet, they began to feel waves of tremors spreading through the body, as if the self was gradually leaving the body and floating among the deep night sky. The hallucinations caused by the ointments completely changed perceptions of space and time. The user was no longer themselves, but stepped into another world, where the boundaries of reality blurred, colors became more vivid, sounds echoed strangely, and vivid images appeared right before their eyes. In those moments, they felt as if conversing with spirits, divine forces, or even demons, creating the mysterious legends of witches flying on brooms and mystical encounters in the dark. During important ceremonies, ointments also helped communities connect more deeply with the spiritual world. The hallucinatory experiences were seen as a bridge for humans to communicate with the invisible realm, seeking protection, healing, or foretelling the future. The chosen ones, witches, shamans, sorcerers, became intermediaries between the visible and invisible worlds, guiding people through fears and insecurities. However, hallucinations were not always gentle or safe. Many times witches' flights came with delirium, paranoia, and loss of control. Screams and strange behaviors during hallucinations caused many to be hunted and condemned as witches, leading to tragic outcomes. Yet it was thanks to these experiences that stories and legends of the supernatural world were formed and passed down and becoming an inseparable part of medieval folk culture. Anna, the girl who experimented with Henbane, Mandrake, and ointments, also experienced moments suspended between two worlds. In those flights, she felt a miraculous fusion between her soul and mysterious forces, which made her believe in supernatural power but also fear the hidden darkness within. Anna's story is a testament to the alluring yet lurking danger of using hallucinogenic ointments. Through stories and legends, we realize that hallucinogenic ointments are not merely medicinal substances but symbols of a spiritual journey, a human yearning to connect with the invisible world. They provoke curiosity, shivers, and reflection on the unsolved mysteries of the mind and universe. In distant lands where deserts stretch endlessly and mystical tales never run dry, there exists a secret spiritual tradition quietly enduring amid dusty winds. Sufism, a sacred path leading people to harmony with the divine and deep exploration of the soul. On this journey, hashish, a resin extracted from the hemp plant, plays an indispensable role as a key unlocking deep meditation, helping practitioners transcend the limits of the physical world to touch mystical spiritual realms. Hashish is not merely an opiate as commonly understood. For the Sufis, it is a gift of nature, a sacred tool to elevate consciousness and reach inner stillness. Sufi monks use hashish in rituals and meditation, applying or inhaling each breath to bring the mind into an altered state, where space and time seem to dissolve, leaving only the full presence of the soul and the divine. The experience with hashish is described as a journey beyond the ego, where the practitioner feels perfect harmony with the universe and invisible forces. In those moments, their soul becomes light and soaring, and the boundaries of reality seem to blur. Sounds, lights, and emotions blend into a magical symphony, guiding them into deep spiritual dimensions previously unknown. Many ancient stories recount Sufi saints and enlightened masters using hashish as a means to attain enlightenment and absolute understanding of life and existence. Through these experiences, they find peace in their soul, endless joy, and inner strength to inspire those around them. But the journey with hashish also has its challenges and dangers. Hallucinations can cause the practitioner to get lost in the maze of the mind, confront inner ghosts, fears, and indescribable spiritual pain. The solitude and depth in meditation sometimes turn into frightening experiences, requiring courage and perseverance to overcome. In a small desert temple, there was a young monk named Khalid, who decided to embark on the Sufi path by using hashish in his meditation sessions. At first, he felt confused and overwhelmed by vivid hallucinations and constantly shifting emotional states. Gradually, he learned to control his mind, listen to his inner voice, and find deep harmony with himself and the universe. Khalid's journey was not only a personal one, but also a testament to the power of hashish as a spiritual bridge between the earthly world and the divine realm. It opened doors that words sometimes could not express, bringing humans closer to understanding the true nature of existence and the meaning of life. On the path of exploring humanity's mystical secrets, From the darkness of the Middle Ages with hallucinogenic ointments to profound meditative experiences in Sufism, a larger story about the role of stimulants in religious rituals worldwide begins to unfold. From distant temples in the Middle East, ancient Jewish shrines to the pure Buddhist monasteries, stimulants, despite differences in origin and form, share a sacred purpose, expanding awareness, spiritual elevation, and uniting communities in divine experience. In the Islamic world, besides Sufism, famous for using hashish in meditation rituals, there are other traditions using resins, herbs, or incense to stimulate the senses and spirit. Devotees use fragrant incense smoke filling the holy space, not only creating a solemn atmosphere, but also helping them calm their minds, open their hearts to receive the divine presence. These altered states of consciousness, though gentle, are enough to deepen their sense of harmony with God and the universe. In Jewish tradition, special ceremonies such as the festivals of Sukkot and Simchat Torah are not only community events, but also occasions for believers to revive their spirit and faith through songs, dances, and in some cases, the use of wine or fermented drinks to enhance excitement and connection. In those moments, wine is not merely a beverage, but a sacred medium that helps expand awareness, illuminate the soul, and create a strong bond between people and between humans and the divine. Buddhism, with its image of purity and tranquility, seems less related to stimulants. However, when delving into meditation traditions in deep forests or temples in Tibet, one finds special herbs used to support deep meditation and expanded consciousness. Monks use various teas, ointments, or even special incense to create a conducive environment for advanced meditative states, helping them transcend the limits of body and time. The common thread among these religions and traditions is the use of stimulants, whether ointments, incense, wine, or herbs, not as an escape from reality or mere indulgence, but as a sacred means to guide people toward expanded awareness, profound spiritual experiences, and sacred connection with community and divinity. These experiences not only elevate individuals spiritually, but also forge tight bonds within the community of believers. Sharing rituals together, experiencing altered states of consciousness, and sensing the presence of the divine, they feel no longer alone, but part of a greater whole, a spiritual family, a living flow of faith and tradition. However, the use of these stimulants also requires subtle understanding and balance. Abuse or improper use can lead to paranoid states, loss of control, or harm to physical and mental health. Therefore, in every tradition, guides, whether monks, shamans, or religious leaders, play a crucial role in regulating, instructing, and protecting the community from potential dangers. This balance creates a delicate interaction between humans and nature, between the material and the spiritual, between reality and the metaphysical in diverse religious ceremonies worldwide. Stimulants become a magical bridge, leading humans beyond the limits of consciousness to integrate into profound spiritual dimensions, thereby creating stories, legends, and experiences that never fade. Before the light of Christianity shone across Europe, before magnificent cathedrals and echoing prayers, there existed another world, a world of pre-Christian beliefs where humans sought ultimate secrets through ancient rituals and connections with the divine realm. In these rituals, the indispensable role of stimulants, magical doors that help them enter trance states, meet gods, spirits, and mystical forces, cannot be overlooked. In vast fields and dense forests, ancient tribes discovered the power of herbs and intoxicating natural substances. They did not use them merely as anesthetics or entertainment, but regarded them as direct bridges to the divine. Under full moon ceremonies or during harvest festivals, they used herbs, poisonous mushrooms, fermented wine, and secret mixtures to create distinct spiritual states where they believed they could transcend their bodies and unite with the vast universe. In the ancient Mediterranean, the Greeks and Romans used wine blended with herbs in Dionysian rites, the worship of Dionysus, the god of wine, where wild celebrations were not just festivals, but journeys leading participants into divine states, enabling them to glimpse supernatural horizons and understand the mysteries of life and death. The ancient Celts, with their dense forest mountain culture, also used special mushrooms and hallucinogenic herbs in their rituals. Their priests, the Druids, in trance states induced by these stimulants, were believed to communicate with the spirit world, predict the future, and control natural forces. Not stopping there, distant Asian cultures, such as ancient Hindus and Himalayan mountain tribes, also had rituals using sacred herbs to reach elevated spiritual states. The altered states of consciousness caused by intoxicating substances were regarded as a means to escape the cycle of reincarnation, to merge with the cosmic self, and to seek ultimate enlightenment. Despite differences in form and substances used, all pre-Christian beliefs share a profound commonality, using stimulants as bridges to expand awareness, connect with deities, and explore spiritual depths unreachable by ordinary life. Those ecstatic states were not merely temporary intoxications, but sacred experiences that deeply transformed the spiritual lives of participants. But that journey always came with significant risks. Those daring to enter the sacred hallucinatory world faced dangers of delirium, paranoia, or even social condemnation as witches or heretics. Many tragic stories were passed down, people lost between reality and dreams, between life and death, because of overwhelmingly intense sacred intoxication. Anna, the girl who once experienced many hallucinations from Henbane, Mandre, Belelladana, and Ointments, now took another step on the path of exploring the ancient spiritual world. She realized that today's sacred experiences are just a continuation of a long tradition stretching across generations and diverse cultures, where humans continuously seek sacred connection through altered states of consciousness. In vast wheat fields, bountiful harvests that seemed like gifts from Mother Earth concealed a deadly danger few suspected. Urgot fungus, a terrifying parasite that plunged entire medieval farming communities into a nightmare. Urgot not only ruined crops, but also spread mysterious illnesses, trapping people in spirals of horrifying hallucinations and agonizing convulsions. Urgot is a parasitic fungus growing on cereals like wheat and barley, the main food sources in medieval Europe. During harvest seasons, when the climate was cool and humid, Urgot thrived, covering grains with hard, black, rock-like shells. These infected grains not only lost nutritional value, but also contained dangerous toxins, alkaloids such as ergotamine and lysergic acid, which could cause severe biological reactions if accidentally consumed. Villagers recognized Urgot's terror only after many strange illness cases appeared. People suffered continuous convulsions, cold limbs, stabbing pains like needle pricks, and necrotic ulcers on their skin. But the most horrifying were the violent hallucinations, bizarre images, chilling sounds, making patients unable to distinguish reality from dreams. Many became wandering ghosts in the village with empty eyes and incoherent speech, evoking both pity and fear. This phenomenon was called ergotism, or ergot poisoning, becoming not just a personal nightmare, but a devastating epidemic that paralyzed entire communities. During those dark days, rumors spread that it was a divine curse or demonic harassment, prompting officials and churches to intervene, seeking explanations and punishing suspected evildoers or witches. Horrific tales of mass funerals, witch hunts, and burning pyres were recorded in history, while the real cause, a parasitic fungus on wheat, silently wreaked havoc. Every meal with bread or porridge made from ergot-infected grain was like a dagger stabbing villagers' lives unexpectedly and mercilessly. Anna, the girl once lost in hallucinations from ointments and herbs, faced a new challenge as her village was affected by ergotism. She witnessed relatives and friends falling into unbearable pain and delirium without escape, deepening her understanding of the cruelty of nature and medieval life. Anna's story is a vivid portrait of the intersection between unknown science, superstition, and human tragedy before the power of nature. Although ergot was a terrible threat, it was also from this that humans began to better understand the relationship between nature and health, through careful observation and research to find causes and solutions. Urgot, with its toxicity and hallucinogenic power, is proof of humanity's persistent struggle to seek life and knowledge in a world full of mysteries and dangers. In the mist-covered high mountains where vast rhododendron forests bloom each spring, there is a special type of honey called mad honey by locals. Unlike the sweet, gentle honey commonly known, mad honey carries a strange power, both enchanting and dangerous. It is a miraculous product, or more precisely, a curse, created by bees gathering nectar from rhododendron flowers containing toxic compounds, making each drop of honey hold a power that intoxicates people to forget the world, yet can also push them toward death. Rhododendron, with its bright red flowers and intoxicating fragrance, is not only a stunning natural spectacle, but also the source of mad honey. Within these flowers is a compound called gray anotoxin, a natural neurotoxin that affects sodium channels in nerve cells, disrupting signal transmission and causing strange reactions in the human body. When bees collect nectar from these flowers, they unknowingly bring toxins into the hive, turning the honey into a drink that is both attractive and potentially deadly. Mountain people have long known about mad honey, honey that can induce unusual states. Upon consumption, the honey causes an initial euphoric feeling, like a whirlwind sweeping away all worries, pulling one into a world full of mystical colors and sounds. The mind sharpens, but is also easily distracted by vivid hallucinations, echoing sounds in the head, and a floating sensation as if gliding on clouds. However, mad honey also hides unpredictable dangers. Many users experience dizziness, nausea, cold sweats, irregular heartbeat, sometimes slipping into stupor or deep coma. Violent convulsions and respiratory failure have claimed the lives of numerous curious or careless individuals using this unique honey. Legends tell that in remote mountain villages, some dare to use mad honey for festivals or spiritual rituals, believing it can bring strong connections to the spirit world and supernatural power. Yet tragic stories also exist of those intoxicated by mad honey losing control, becoming entranced and lost in bizarre drunkenness, wandering as ghosts on cold mountain paths. Anna, a girl who once experienced hallucinations from Henbane, Mandre, and Belelladana, heard about mad honey through mountain villagers' stories. Her curiosity and desire to explore natural stimulants led her to try this unique honey once, but she quickly realized mad honey was not a thing to play with. The intoxication came fast, strong, and uncontrollable, pushing her into chaotic spiritual experiences mixed with fear and despair. Mad honey, with its sweet appearance and alluring fragrance, is a vivid testament to nature's diversity and complexity, holding both life and death in every tiny drop. It reminds humans that behind nature's beauty and power lie hidden mysteries and dangers, demanding respect, understanding, and caution. In the Middle Ages, when people lacked modern science to explain the world around them, strange natural phenomena inspired countless mysterious stories, legends, and centuries-long fears. Among them, two particular phenomena, ergot fungus parasitizing grains and mad honey from rhododendron flowers, created strange altered states of consciousness, leading people to misunderstand and even weave them into terrifying ghost and divine tales. Urgot, a black fungus clinging tightly to wheat and barley grains, the staple food of European people at that time, silently spread strange diseases. Medieval people called it the curse of the divine, or devil's torment, as they witnessed violent convulsions, horrifying hallucinations, cold limbs, and painful spreading necrosis. Entire communities fell into panic when these diseases appeared en masse. No one understood the cause, only fleeing and begging for salvation from the divine. Mad honey, honey made by bees collecting nectar from rhododendron flowers containing toxins, offers those who taste it a completely different but equally mysterious experience. People feel a soaring sensation, vivid colors, mystical echoes, then suddenly fall into a trance, convulsions, or even death. Mad honey has become a symbol of enchantment and danger, both a gift and a curse of the wild nature. The limited scientific knowledge of that time made ergot and mad honey objects of fear and reverence, woven into legendary stories. People believed they were punishments from the gods, signs of dark forces, or witchcraft. Those affected by these poisons were often shunned by society, accused of witchcraft, or harshly punished. However, in the spiritual and medical life of the Middle Ages, these strange experiences were also important pieces in humanity's gradual awareness of the relationship between nature and humans. Healers and herbalists, although still relying heavily on superstition, began to recognize the connection between food, environment, and health. They experimented with and recorded herbal remedies and even ways to cope with diseases caused by ergot and toxic honey. Anna, a girl who had experienced hallucinations from herbs and ointments, now witnessed her village suffering from the curse of ergot and mad honey. She felt more deeply the pain, fears, and thirst for knowledge of people in an era when science had not yet reached. Her story is a vivid testimony to the journey from superstition to awareness, from fear to discovery. In the vast picture of medieval history, where darkness covered not only the alleys of towns but also the hidden corners of human souls, there is a little known but very important and sacred image: midwives and female healers. They were the keepers of traditional medicine's flame, quietly standing beside each life, using knowledge of herbs and spiritual understanding to heal and save communities amid hardship, illness, and superstition. This was a time when mainstream medicine had not yet developed, still relying heavily on oral experience and natural observation. Midwives were not only birth assistants but also devoted healers, using herbs and rare plants to treat common diseases, from fevers and aches to neurological and mental disorders. Female healers and midwives were seen as keepers of the gateway between the material world and the spiritual world. They not only healed bodies but also soothed spiritual wounds, helping patients overcome fears and anxieties in a precarious life. In many spiritual rituals, they acted as intermediaries, communicating with supernatural forces, using magic, charms, and mysterious prayers to protect communities from invisible disasters. On cold, dark nights, when the wind howled through crooked thatched roofs, one could still see midwives quietly passing from house to house, carrying herbs, a flickering lamp lighting the way. They never stopped learning, passing on knowledge to the next generation, protecting the secrets of nature and the healing power of herbs. Midwives not only treated illnesses, but also participated in life and death rituals, helping women give birth under the most difficult circumstances. They witnessed the most sacred moments of life, birth, and were also near when death knocked, praying for peace for the departing soul. In a small village, there was a midwife named Alia, an elderly woman with deep eyes and skillful hands. Alia was not only famous for her ability to heal with herbs, but also respected by the people for her understanding of human souls. Once, when a strange epidemic broke out, Alia tirelessly searched and treated patients day and night, using both medicine and prayers to soothe physical and spiritual pain. Her story became a legend, a symbol of dedication and the power of traditional medicine in the hearts of the people. Female healers not only faced dangers from illness, but also had to struggle against social prejudices and suspicion from the male-dominated medical establishment of their time. Yet they stood resilient, maintaining an irreplaceable position in community life, passing down precious knowledge to future generations. Anna, a girl who had experienced many ups and downs with enchanting herbs, now turned to stories about midwives and female healers, finding in them the continuation of a strong and sacred tradition. She understood that healing power lay not only in scientific knowledge, but also in the love, empathy, and perseverance of those women. Amid cold stone villages and vast fields in the perilous medieval world, there was a smoldering flame that never went out. The folk medical knowledge passed down by women through generations. Not in grand libraries or magnificent schools, but in simple thatched houses, through stories by the fireside, through skilled hands gathering herbs and preparing ointments, they preserved and developed a secret treasure that helped communities survive countless hardships. Medieval women, especially midwives and female healers, were not merely disease treaters, but also preservers of a complex folk medical system, crystallized from experience, observation, and experimentation over time. They knew each plant intimately, from Belelladana, which could induce anesthesia, to Henbane with deadly toxicity, from mysterious mandrake to humble herbs treating common ailments. Simple but effective techniques were passed down orally like songs, choosing the right time to harvest leaves, preparing essential oils, brewing ointments from herbal mixtures, using heat to enhance effects, or storing medicines to retain potency. Each formula, each method contained meticulousness and deep knowledge about the nature of both the natural world and the human body. Not only did they heal, but they also kept the flame of spiritual rituals related to folk medicine. During epidemics or prolonged famines, these women performed rituals to pray for protection from deities, while using ointments and herbal remedies to help the sick overcome dangers both physical and spiritual. A story circulated in the village about midwife Mirabelle, an experienced and compassionate woman. She not only mastered remedies for stomach aches, malaria, or nervous disorders, but also knew how to use special ointments that relieved pain and dispelled psychological ghosts. Mirabelle saved many lives, but also faced suspicion and threats from those who considered her a witch. Mirabelle's knowledge and that of women like her were transmitted informally but persistently, from mother to daughter, through stories and practical lessons in daily life. Despite many injustices and gender prejudices in medieval society, midwives and female healers persevered in preserving and developing that folk medical treasure, playing a vital role in the survival and health of the entire community. Anna, who had explored many secrets of herbs and ointments, now found in those women a special connection. She realized that not only stimulants or poisonous mushrooms created legendary stories, but the love, persistence, and knowledge of those ordinary women were the real power helping humanity overcome the darkness of the Middle Ages. In the multidimensional picture of the medieval era, where the light of science was still weak and the darkness of superstition dominated human minds, midwives and female healers were not only healers keeping the flame alive, but also the most suspected and threatened figures. Why did those who brought life, care, and healing become targets of malice, brutal witch hunts, and cruel sentences? That story contains curiosity, horror, and the painful paradoxes of medieval society. The primary cause came from the miraculous power and secret knowledge these midwives and female healers held. In a society where most people were still ignorant of medicine and science, the ability to heal with herbs and natural ointments became a kind of mysterious magic. Those women were like real-life sorceresses, possessing knowledge no one understood, but capable of changing human destiny. This made them both respected and targets of jealousy and suspicion from villagers and authorities alike. Moreover, the dominance of the church and feudal government imposed strict limits on faith and power. Anyone showing unusual signs, knowledge, or power beyond religious norms was considered dangerous. Midwives and female healers, with their spiritual rituals, secret remedies, and knowledge of the invisible world, became enemies of the church, labeled as witches, wielders of dark magic, and evildoers opposing God. The mixture of superstition, gender prejudice, and fear of the unexplained caused thousands of women healers to be accused of witchcraft. They faced brutal hunts, public trials, torture, and execution. Stories of brave women standing against injustice or simply victims of prejudice, left abandoned in dungeons or burned at the stake, became symbols of endless pain and injustice. Anna, a girl who had experienced many trials with herbs and ointments, now witnessed the cruel oppression that the village midwives and female healers endured. She understood that their power and knowledge were not only a hope for the community, but also a threat to the authority of the church and government. This confrontation forced those who brought healing light to live in the shadows of suspicion and fear. Despite being oppressed and controlled, the midwives and female healers stubbornly preserved folk medical knowledge, passing it on secretly to the next generation. They became the last guardians of a treasure of wisdom and compassion, quietly fighting to preserve life and faith in a world full of dangers. Amid the candlelit, earthen-walled houses, there were not only legendary stories of witches, healers, and spiritual rituals, but also tales about miraculous drinks and herbs, medicines to relieve pain, soothe the soul, and relieve stress in the hard lives of ordinary people. Poppy wine was one of the most precious and popular remedies. Made from soft poppy petals, this wine was not only a drink, but also a savior for those suffering from aches and fatigue after a hard day's work. Just a small glass seemed to envelop the body with a warm wave, easing pain, calming worries, and gently guiding the mind into peaceful dreams. Besides that, Henbane tea, a magical herb that once caused many to be both enchanted and terrified, was also used in moderate doses to treat insomnia, headaches, and anxiety. People believed Henbane tea not only chased away physical pain, but also opened spiritual doors, helping them feel rare peace amid life's turmoil. Hashish, the famous divine potion in Sufi practice, also found its way into everyday life in some medieval lands. Used not only in meditation rituals, hashish helped people relax after tiring labor, freeing the mind from worries and creating deep inner experiences. Remarkably, these intoxicants were not strangers reserved for the elite or sorcerers, but had become familiar parts of folk life. People from countryside to city, from humble farmers to merchants, knew and used these medicines as part of daily life, like spiritual armor against inevitable pain, anxiety, and fatigue. Midwives, female healers, and folk medicine keepers played a key role in preparing and teaching proper dosages to ensure effective pain relief while avoiding dangers from hidden toxins in herbs and ointments. Their skill and experience served as a shield protecting the community from unwanted tragic consequences. Anna, who had gone through hallucinations and uncovered many herbal secrets, now saw the full picture of the role intoxicants played in medieval life. Not only magical tools or miraculous medicines, but also close companions helping people overcome daily physical and spiritual trials. Intoxicants in folk medicine, healing secrets, and the oral journey of ancient remedies. In the medieval world full of dangers and the darkness of scientific ignorance, natural intoxicants were not only magical weapons but also medicines saving human body and spirit. Despite their power to cause hallucinations and alter consciousness, these substances were wisely applied in folk medicine to heal, relieve pain, and support spirit, creating a mysterious journey intertwining instinctive science and spiritual belief. From Belelladana, Henbane, Mandre to crazy honey, Urgot, or poppy wine, each carries its own story about usage and healing effects. Folk healers, often midwives or female physicians, harness their power, carefully adjusting dosages to both relieve intense pain, cure hard-to-treat illnesses, and support patients through mental crises such as anxiety, insomnia, or even terrifying hallucinations. The use of intoxicating substances in folk medicine was not accidental or simple, but the result of a long process of experimentation and knowledge accumulated over generations. From experiences gained through successes and failures in treatment, healers learned to identify herbs, prepare them, measure appropriate dosages, and recognize warning signs of dangerous misuse. These remedies were passed down orally through stories, advice by the fireside, informal lessons between mother and child, grandmother and grandchild. Each succeeding generation learned not only knowledge, but also how to respect and be cautious with nature's power, because a small mistake could turn life-saving medicine into a deadly curse. Anna, a girl who experienced many ups and downs with herbs and intoxicants, now deeply senses the magic of these folk remedies. She witnesses people around her saved by the subtle use of medicines, but also sees pain and loss caused by misunderstanding or abuse. Her story is a reminder that healing power always comes with responsibility and understanding. When hearing intoxicants, many modern people immediately think of negatives, addiction, illegality, social disasters, but return to the Middle Ages, a distant world where life was closely tied to nature and scientific understanding was very limited, to discover a completely different perspective on these substances. There, the use of intoxicants was not rebellious or illegal behavior, but a normal, even necessary part of life and medicine. In the Middle Ages, when entertainment was scarce and formal medicine undeveloped, the use of herbs, mushrooms, medicinal wines, or intoxicating mixtures was a familiar part of daily life. These substances were not merely for intoxication or escape, but considered tools to reduce pain, soothe the soul, lift the spirit, and even access the spiritual world. Wine was widely consumed at festivals and even daily meals. Herbs such as belladonna, henbane, and mandrake were used in folk medicine for healing and pain relief. Hashish, crazy honey, and hallucinogenic ointments were indispensable in spiritual rituals and meditation. This use was widely accepted and not regarded as illegal or negative behavior. The social attitude at that time was quite open and understanding of intoxicants, viewing them as necessary means for healthier, gentler living amid life's hardships. People used them responsibly and wisely, based on oral knowledge and long-standing experience from folk healers, midwives, and shamans. This contrasts sharply with modern views, where intoxicants are often linked to serious social problems like addiction, crime, and moral decline. Today's laws impose strict limits, and society holds many prejudices, causing users of intoxicants to be stigmatized or criminalized. But this difference in perspective makes one curious. Are we missing a deeper understanding of intoxicant use? Could we learn from the ancient approach, a harmonious use, respecting nature, and clearly understanding both the power and limits of these substances? Anna, who stepped into the mystical world of herbs and intoxicants, now sees them not just as healing tools or hallucination-inducing substances, but as indispensable parts of spiritual life and culture. She clearly understands that the perspectives and practices of the Middle Ages offer valuable lessons about balance and respect for nature, a major difference from the modern world. Have you ever wondered how today's society views intoxicants and whether it could change to become more understanding and open? Do you want to explore the secrets of medieval life and medicine, where what we consider sins were in fact not normal, even essential parts of life? This is the story of cultural perceptions of intoxicants in the Middle Ages, a world where curiosity, understanding, and respect created a journey full of drama, mystery, and timeless lessons for humanity.